Speaking of editing taking a long fucking time, Sekhmet Senrizeron. Here's a question. TBH, recording and editing seems like a daunting task. That's why I'd be really grateful if you could elaborate on how all of you go through these processes. Programs for recording and editing. Those of you, of course, that's the end of the question. For those who do not edit, still the setup for streaming, that is also daunting for a lot of people who do not know how to stream. So consider this a general question on what is your setup, your programs, and how do you do the do for your setup?
I remember when I first was recording, because I did recording before I streamed, and boy, that was a pain in the butt how I did it. I would record like about a minute or two's worth of content until I flubbed, and then I would like stop there, try and get that part stopped, and I would keep doing that for various parts. And so I'd have like 20 or so different clips and make sure my audio was properly timed with what I had, because I didn't have OBS at the time. So I was manually uploading the audio to correlate with whatever was on screen. I don't even remember how I recorded, if it was like QuickTime or something like that. Some sort of like horrible recording method, and I had to line up all the audio. Yeah, sorry, what did you say, Paul?
No, I was gonna say I haven't heard that name in ages. QuickTime.
Oh, I haven't now, or now I haven't. I've stopped long ago, but yeah, before I streamed, that's what I do. I line everything up. I would have like at least a template for my intro and outro, and oh boy, yeah, adding those together so I wouldn't have any like flubbed lines in there or whatnot. Yeah, quite a pain to time that up when audio and video are on separate devices. So that's a quick little precursor before what I did with streaming. So the actual thing, streaming, like, yeah, using OBS has been interesting. You'll learn over time. That's what you gotta have, like, the openness to when you do it. You're not gonna be like somebody that has all this stuff set up for the first time, even if you go through like tutorials. Like, you'll pick things up, but then you'll kind of tweak and tinker around. So I have my OBS. I have that with like the recording settings on at times. I fix the bit rates and all that stuff. And yeah, a couple different screens for like preparing a window and stuff to capture audio and the screen. Yeah, I can't say much else other than the setup of that. The other stuff would be like whatever the complex like Twitch and YouTube like widgets are.
Okay. Fellow streamer main time Marshmallow Bears, do you have anything to add about streaming?
Yeah, so I use OBS for my main setup. All the settings and that and scenes set up. So I have my starting soon, just chatting, my gaming and drawing and close up. I also have a technical difficulties screen. But on top of that, I'm also a VTuber. So I have to have my VTube studio up and running, along with all of my bots. So I've Mix It Up and BiguBot, which is for like a text-to-speech redeem. And then I have a thing called TITS, which stands for Twitch Integrated Throwing System, which whenever anyone would donate or give me bits, it throws shit at me.
Oh yeah.
Show me
So yeah, I have all that running all at once, so it can be a bit of a pain to run all of that at once. Sometimes I have to close some things down. But yeah, so those are all the programs I use to make all of the magic happen.
Nice. Before we move on too much, I also should probably ask for the tech spec people in minded people. Dirk, what microphone and camera do you use?
Oh, yeah. I was about to say in the answer, and I was like, no, it's a different question. But the camera that I use is a Logitech. I forgot what the exact like model of it is, but it's like a Logitech camera I got at like Best Buys. I wouldn't say it's like high end, but it's not like low end either. It's kind of like in the middle. Does it have the name? Nope, it does not. But it's like this white one with like this gray, like graphite heather color to like the side of it. So that's the camera I use. It gives a decent quality. I normally do it in 720p. And the mic I'm using right now is actually on a mic stand of all things, but it's called a Focusrite 2-channel. It's a Scarlett 2i2. I just saw the name. And so basically that is like a, what is it, like analog or whatever, where it's like you plug in like an audio jack thing for it.
Audio interfacer, I have that.
Yeah, it's not like a USB thing technically, like you still plug that like the box into the USB, but it's like when you have a regular microphone and it has like the little three things you shove in.
Yeah, 3-prong.
Yeah, I am not a technical expert, if you could tell, even though I have all this stuff here. I'm just like, I'm the guy here who's like, I have no clue what I'm doing. But yeah, I have this Focusrite thing that makes it so the audio is clear. I used to use a Blue Yeti, so I still recommend that, but you know, if you want a good quality to your mic and something that isn't as like, I think there's a thing where they talk about like USB mics having a little bit of a quality translation issue, but yeah, doing something that is like this where it has like the microphone type of jack that you plug in is something I'd recommend, because those can still plug into USB, but they'll have like a box that helps translate it better.
Okay. And Marshmallow Bears, you don't use a webcam. You use
I have to use a webcam for my VTubing.
True, yeah. And the microphone?
But everything I use is cheap as shit. So here's a little behind the scenes. I use a Blue Yeti. I use a Blue Yeti Snowball for my microphone.
Sorry, Marsh. not the crap on your mic or anything.
No, you're fine. I know it's crap, but I don't have the money.
It's a decent mic, though.
I make streamer money, so I don't have the money to upgrade.
Oh, yeah, I can feel that. It's like any month now I'll hit the threshold.
I can taste the tea. It's so good. This tea is so good.
Oh,
and then for my webcam, I got like a production clone of a good webcam. It says Avera Media on it, so I guess that's the brand name. But yeah, I literally looked for like, oh, this is a good webcam. Is there a production clone of it? Yep, there it is. Like $20. Buy it.
nice.
So yeah,
I've never thought of that. Cool. And Fallen Wolf, you stream every once in a while, yeah?
Yeah, I need to. It's more just a time thing, but I want to do more of it. But yeah, I stream sometimes.
Okay, so you stream and video, so you can speak to both your setups for that, as well as what is your equipment setup.
So so I'll start with editing. I feel like that's easier to describe, not to do. So for editing, when I started out, I actually started out with a Blue Yeti. That was how I started off. I ended up, well, when I first started, I used a headset and a headset mic, and it was awful. And I don't go back to those videos for a reason. My first videos for a reason. But after that, I still used the headset. I was a Logitech, some kind of Logitech. It was like a $50 headset. I used a Logitech for the listen, and I used a Blue Yeti to record. Now I have a XLR. No, it's an AT. Sorry, it's an AT 2035. It's Audio Technica 2035. Pretty decent. I've had very little issues with it. My issues mostly come from just finding the proper setup. I've never used an audio interfacer before, which is I have the same one Dirk has, a Scarlett Solo one output, and I've never used one of those, so I'm still trying to get used to it. But just for people, word of advice for people, if you starting off, I would recommend a USB mic. Blue Yetis are good enough. Just starting off, just until you get used to talking into a mic. I don't think people should go right for a XLR mic, because while they're much better quality, they are much more complicated to adjust.
Yeah.
But definitely start with a Blue Yeti. Now I use an XLR mic. XLR mics, they're much better, but I would recommend starting with a Blue Yeti. When I had a camera, I got to get a new camera because my old webcam broke. I used to have I was trying to be one of the cool kids, and I got a Razer Koyo, a Razer Koyo, and it lasted a few months and it broke. And I was like, okay, that definitely don't buy the name brand stuff all the time. It's not always good. But yeah, when I edit though, for editing thumbnails, I use Photoshop. You don't have to use that though. There are plenty of other sites that are far cheaper. Trust me, don't get Photoshop. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I have this old Photoshop I had from like 2016 that I used from time to time. Also,
there's so
CSP.
much better ways than using that. But yeah, I use Photoshop for thumbnails, and then I use OBS like everybody else does. I usually use OBS to record. But I record audio separately. I don't know who here records audio separately.
Back in the day, I did, and to add to that thing I did, it was the thing I separated my audio on was an iPhone. I used the iPhone record.
Oh jeez! Oh my gosh!
That's why it was like on two separate things. Because I was like, I don't want to use my computer mic, otherwise we'll conflict.
Yeah.
I did not know how the tech stuff worked.
So I used to record together in OBS. But eventually I was like, well, sometimes the visual novel music is so much louder than my voice. So now I use Audacity. It's a free program. I definitely recommend it. It's completely free and it's very simple audio editing. I use Audacity to record my voice, my vocals, and then I use OBS just to record the normal game footage, the footage and the sound.
You can...
And
I was having that problem for a long time where my voice was getting lost in the game sound until someone taught me. My brother showed me a video on how to have two separate audio tracks for your microphone and the game audio in OBS. That way, when the video file comes out and you go into editing, like for streaming, it doesn't help at all because they both come out at the same time. But if you're recording for a video, it will come in as two separate audio tracks that you can manipulate in your editor.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting. I'll have to talk about that because usually lately I just use Audacity now just to record my audio just because I'll go through the clip and I'll cut out stuff, and especially if it's like a because I know that's a big thing, especially if it's like I'm doing one of my discussion videos, I'll use Audacity because I can cut out all the
audio gating.
Yeah. I'll use that to cut out those because I know like that's a big thing. I've been watching a lot of visual novel. I've been watching a lot of voice actor videos like the past year, and I know that's a big thing they talk about, like cutting out the gasp and the deep breaths you take.
Yeah. What program do you use to edit? Edit your video?
I edit my video. I used see Vivian, you're always right on top of it. I forgot the one. That's the one I forgot. I use Premiere Pro again. Before that though, I used to use. Oh man, I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna be very frustrated. I had the name on the tip of my tongue. Before that, I used to use something called. I really hate myself right now because I remember it was a program. It was still a paid program. But it was very cheap. It was like $20-$30 a year, which is, really
nice.
I mean, a lot cheaper than now. Now it's like, hey, you want to use Premiere Pro? It's about $20 a month. Have fun.
Yeah. I just know I edit all my audio in Premiere Pro as well, and there is a way to do audio gating and audio filtering in Premiere Pro as well.
See, I meant to ask you because I know the basics. Like I know how to add effects and stuff. I mean, poorly. I'm gonna add.
Yeah. But I learned a lot of this stuff from Fabulous Aura, and he knows like he taught me all I know. He didn't teach me all he knows.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. But yeah, so yeah. And then for streaming, I use OBS. It's pretty much the same thing. The biggest thing with OBS for me that I had to change is now that I have the XLR, you have to force your computer and the program to read it as a single output because XLR mics don't work in the sense of you set it up as this normal default, it'll only come out of one it'll make it so it only comes out of one like microphone. It's only like sounding off in one ear, whatever you want to call it. I had to adjust it so that it registers that the whole sound is just one big volume, and it just comes out of.
Oh, you had to switch it to stereo as opposed to mono.
There you go. There you go.
There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
Yeah, it can be the audio channels.
It would constantly, when I first got it, I had to keep looking up videos because I was like, I'm only hearing it out of like my left ear. Like, why is it not sounding off of both? And then I was like, oh, because it's naturally set to.
Just thank God for the OBS forums.
Gosh. So yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to say, for people that are new, I highly recommend giving it a try. Don't be afraid to get a cheaper mic. Don't be too cheap, but obviously buy within your budget. Don't try to be, don't be stupid. Don't be like, oh yeah, my first mic's going to be this $200 XLR mic because
what if you don't like doing it?
Yeah,
what are you going to do with this fucking microphone?
You might not like it, and you want to get used to. You just want to get used to voices because, like, I don't regret first buying a USB because it got me used to really doing voices and understanding some little technical know-how. Because you don't have to be an audio engineering genius, but you need to know a decent amount.
Yeah,
you need to know a little above the basics.
Lloyd.
Well, like everyone else, pretty much, I use OBS and I use that for recording. But Fallen mentioned Audacity, and I love that for just audio. So occasionally I'm recording things that have no visuals, and that's what I always use Audacity for. And actually, the Echo video I made a bit over a year ago was all recorded in Audacity because it was basically me talking, and I did the visuals when I was editing. Yeah, I just basically set up OBS, make sure my levels are okay for the music, sound, my voice. Start recording. Stop because I realized I messed up the introduction. Start it again. Keep going till I really messed something up badly. Okay, stop. Go back. Do it again. Keep going. So depending on the length of the video and how well I'm doing, I might just have 4 sections to stitch together, or I might have 20. Which just happens sometimes. And then I just put everything together. I keep it very simple. For editing, I use Shotcut, which is a free program. And I like it. It works well enough for what I do. I can just put things together easily. I can censor things with blurs and mosaics. And I have things set up as well, already done. So my little captions with the patrons at the start of the video, that little Aurora Borealis background introduction is pre-recorded. I just stick all those in with the end credits as well around my stuff, and it's done. So I try to keep it as simple as I can because I'm not a tech guy at all when it comes to this. I see what some of you do with editing. It's amazing. But I just keep it simple.
That's worked for you.
It seems to, so far.
What microphone do you use?
So I have an Audio Technica 2020 USB Plus. It's my second, very similar to the first one, which just wore out after a few years. And I ran it by the sound guy on the one game I worked on. He said, yeah, that's a good choice. So I've been very happy with it. And it's on the shock mount and the pop filter, all that usual stuff as well. So
nice.
It works well for me, this setup.
Yeah. And for me, I use OBS. I use the Streamlabs OBS. I don't know. Does anyone use that variety of OBS?
I used to.
The slobs.
Little slobs.
Little slobs. I pretty much do everything in that. I have Audacity, and if when I do voice acting auditions, I do it in that. Not that that's gotten me anywhere.
I wanted to ask you about that. We'll talk about it after this, but I wanted to ask you some questions about that, actually.
Sure. I don't have any expert advice to give you. I've gotten nothing. I can teach you how to not get a fucking role. Sorry. And I edit in Adobe Premiere Pro, and I used to edit in a thing called VideoPad Video Editor. It was a one-time payment thing, and it it would crash if you sneezed in the wrong direction at it. It was fucking garbage. And so the shift to Premiere Pro was a fucking lifesaver. And my webcam, which I use very infrequently, just because I've just found that I need to have a better self-image if I want to put myself on the internet and feel comfortable about it. I have a Razer Kiyo, which I bought from yeah, you mentioned it. I bought it from a coworker when I worked at GameStop. He had bought one and with the intention of flipping it out of his garage, his car trunk. But I mentioned that I did YouTube, so he gave me a discount. And it works fine, but usually if I'm doing a video that's just webcam, I just use my phone because it has a better camera than the webcam. And then for my microphone, I have the Audio Technica AT4033A. And it also is with the audio interface of the Scarlett Solo. So we got a lot of those in this group. And it's on the shock mount and the pop filter. And that's my setup. I pretty much, when I record, if I know I'm recording an update, I record the whole thing all at once. And then I edit it down into chunks. Usually scene by scene, because my audience has stated a preference for that. I've asked them repeatedly, just to make sure that I'm not screwing up. And then to make sure that they know that it's that, like, because sometimes I'll be like, hey, let me know if this is the right choice or not. If a video ends without me doing an outro, that means I've already recorded the rest of it. And if a video starts without an intro, that means that it's still the same recording session. But the problem is that sometimes people will not have noticed that, or they just don't know that's the system, and so they'll be telling me, or like, oh, I don't know if you've recorded yet or something. And it's not everyone's job to, sometimes people are just moseying in and out and they're not a regular viewer. And I feel bad because I'm like, oh geez, maybe every time, because I don't know when I'm going to do the editing cut, So like, I just can't keep doing, because I have the opening the book intro, the animatic. I have that on every video, but I don't know. I just feel bad because like some people are genuinely trying to help, but they don't know that I've already recorded an hour and a half or 2 hours of something, and I can't put their advice into words. So they're like, "No, I told you not to do that," and I'm like, "I recorded this a month ago. What the fuck do you want me to do?" Oh yeah, yeah. Oh man, but it's I appreciate the efforts nonetheless.